Hi, it's time to read some space books. Of course, I'm wearing appropriate attire. I've got my NASA shirt, I've got my astronaut necklace. I'm ready. This video is also kindly sponsored by Walker Books for The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James, but more about that in a bit. So a couple of weeks ago on Instagram stories, I shared my space to be read list. I took a picture of a pile of books that I really wanted to read that are all set in space and said maybe I should do a space readathon. What do you think? And a lot of you seemed to like the idea, so here we are. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you will know that I love all things space. And even though I've read quite a few books set in space, there is always more to read. So in this video, I'm just going to quickly talk through how this space readathon is going to work. I'm going to give you some of my personal recommendations for books that I think you should read, and I'm going to share my own space TBR for this week. So first of all, the dates. The space readathon is launching on September 15th, which is a Friday, and ending on September 21st, which is a Thursday. So if you've never done a readathon before, this is how this space readathon is going to work. The brief is very simple. Go read as many space-related books as you'd like. They can be fiction, they can be non-fiction, it can be poetry, it can be graphic novels. If you're interested in reading them, put them on your list. And of course, if you'd like to, you can document it. The hashtag we're using is hashtag space readathon. So you can share your reading progress on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, whatever you'd like. I'll be sharing my progress on Twitter and on Instagram stories, and at some point there will also be a space-themed book review video, although it probably won't be during this week. Of course, a readathon needs challenges. First of all, share your space readathon to be read list on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube using the hashtag so we can all kind of show the different books that we're interested in reading. Number two, if you need a little break from reading, maybe watch a space-related film. Bonus points if it's based on a book. And number three is share your own space-related playlist. I'll be creating my own one on Spotify, so you can also suggest some songs to me in the comments or on Twitter, and I will add them to this list and put it in the description. Okay, so I'm assuming that some of you will already have some books ready, but in case you don't, here are some of my personal recommendations. I'm going to start with The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. You might have seen this proof copy in a book haul that I did a couple of weeks ago, and it was also in that Instagram stories post where I originally talked about doing a space readathon, so I'm really excited that the publisher got in touch with me. So this book is a young adult sci-fi thriller. I've really been enjoying talking to friends about this while I was reading it, and I feel like the more you tell people about it, the more you sort of figure out the best way to pitch the book. So this is a story of Romy. She is a teenager and she's also the last surviving crew member of a spaceship called the Infinity. Of course, the situation wasn't supposed to be like this, but that is how it ended up. She is still in touch with NASA, who launched this mission. They've basically given her a therapist that she talks to all the time, because imagine being the only person on a spaceship and knowing that this is going to be the situation for years and years to come. And because she's so far from Earth, these messages take a really long time to send, so they're both sending quite a lot of messages, but it takes a while for one to get to the other, so they're sort of going past each other. It seems like Romy has been adjusting pretty well, but then she gets a message saying that NASA has launched another ship because since things didn't quite go as planned with her mission. And of course, in the meantime, technology has advanced massively. They've sent another ship and it's actually going to catch up with her. There is a guy on board of the ship and she is now in touch with him too. And again, these messages that they're sending to each other have like huge pauses between them. And then they receive a message from NASA telling them that a war has broken out on Earth. And it seems like the situation is pretty bad. That's all I'm going to tell you for now. I feel like there's a lot of other exciting stuff I could tell you about, but I really enjoyed reading about that myself, not knowing about it beforehand, so I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah, this is definitely a sci-fi thriller. It gets really dark, it is really exciting, and I loved reading it. It's a very interesting mix of Romy never having been on Earth, so not knowing a lot, but then also having a database of a ton of films, a ton of TV shows, and so she's been able to learn lots about the world, but there's a lot of things that she hasn't experienced herself yet. Also, tragically, there's this TV show that she absolutely loves, but she doesn't have the last season because it hadn't been broadcast yet when she went into space. I really like that the book mentions like periods and mental health and trauma. I've actually met the author Lauren a couple of times, and I think it's so cool that she always incorporates female characters that are scientists or have an interest in STEM. I feel like there's not nearly enough of that, so that's really exciting. And if you're interested in the part where like the messages are sent past each other and the calculations for that, she actually put all those calculations up on her website, so you can check it out. This book was a really good combination of being really fun, really dark and thrilling, and obviously being set in space. So yes, would definitely highly recommend you put this one on your list. Okay, some other books I have also read and would also recommend. The First Men in the Moon by H.G. Wells, if you're looking for a classic. This one I would say is a bit wacky. It's about this like scientist who creates this glass orb and anti-gravity matter, and he and this other guy go into space and they go to the moon. This was written before the moon landing, and they sort of find all these weird creatures living on the other side of the moon. It's very British, it's very weird, but I really like that it's written before we knew what was on the other side of the moon, before we had that technology, and sort of as sci-fi moves on, we go like further and further into space, and I feel like this was like some of the beginnings of that. Another classic, I totally forgot about this until I was going through my shelves to find the other books, and I was like, yes, obviously I should include this. It's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is one of the funniest books that I've ever read. I actually read this in Dutch first when I was a teenager. It's about Arthur Dent, who finds out that Earth is about to be destroyed, and he hitches a ride on a spaceship with his friend Fort Prefect, who is writing for The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you want a really, really funny read, I'd recommend this. You already know that I love The Martian by Weir. All about a man and his potatoes on Mars. It's about Mark Watney, who gets left behind on a Mars mission, and he has to figure out how to survive on Mars. If you're into really sarcastic writing, then maybe check this one out. And then finally, a picture book, Interstellar Cinderella. It is a retelling of Cinderella, in which Cinderella likes fixing rocket ships. Amazing. Okay, so I'm quickly going to show you the books that I will be reading this week. I don't know which order I'm going to read them in, so if you have any favorites, let me know. Second book by Weir, Artemist, by the author of The Martian. This time there is a female main character, and it is about the first city on the moon and smuggling. Nixia, it's being compared to the Hunger Games in space, so lots of action. This one's been on my shelves for a really long time. This is on my original space TBR as well. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. This one I actually don't know that much about, except that it is always being recommended by people. It is set on a spaceship called the Wayfarer, and from what I've heard, it has like a crew of like all these different types of aliens and people. This is probably one of my most anticipated ones. I have high expectations. And then there's Binti. It is very little. Again, this is a classic that was recommended to me. It says that Binti is the first of the Himba people to ever be offered a place at Umza University, the finest institution of higher learning in the galaxy. Pretty sure it is also the first in a series. And then finally, this arrived just in time yesterday. I was sent this one for review. It's an illustrated tour of the night sky, what we see in the stars. Again, very shiny, beautiful illustrations, and it is just a beautiful guide to the stars we see at night and sort of the myths and legends that people have been telling around them. So yes, very excited for that as well. So those are quite a few books. I'll be putting links to all of them in the description. So I think I'm uploading this video on a Thursday, which means the Space Readathon starts tomorrow if you're watching this on a Thursday. I'll be tweeting lots about it too, so don't worry, you won't miss out. I hope you join in. If you have any space reading recommendations, do leave them in a comment down below. And that's everything for me. Happy reading. Doei!